Today on the podcast, we've got Reclaiming Worth, Midlife Magic, and Career Renewal with the beautiful Paula Willis. The Oracle speaks, and today she reminds you, you are not broken, you are becoming. In this episode of Ask the Oracle, we journey into the transformational power of midlife with Paula Willis, founder of Worth Careers and Transitions. Paula brings her powerful blend of psychological insight and leadership wisdom to the mic, helping women break free from burnout, career trauma, and self-doubt to reclaim their voice and power. We explore how midlife isn't a crisis, it's an invitation. With warmth and science-backed strategies, Paula reveals how to rise from disenchantment, navigate transitions with grace, and reconnect with the woman you are now, not who the world told you to be. Tune in if you're ready to rewrite the story of your worth, one brave decision at a time. Listen now, Oracle Seekers, your next chapter is calling. Hi, Paula. How are you, my love?
Hello, what a beautiful introduction. Thank you, Suzy.
You're very, very welcome. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast today. I met you up at the Gold Coast at a gorgeous women's conference, and your effervescence and your beautiful energy just kind of held space for us. So excited to dive deep into these questions today.
I'm really excited to be talking about midlife. It's something I'm so passionate about.
I think it's so perfect for my audience as well, reclaiming their voice and their path, and I'm really looking forward to it. So let's do this. So you talk a lot about midlife as a portal, not a crisis. What makes this phase such fertile ground for transformation?
So, with my experience working with women for 25 years and coming into midlife myself, which is its own revelation on a personal level, midlife is very much a cracking open of what was and what is yet to be. Our potential is actually limitless. But I think as women, we are conditioned to be all things to other people. We spend our lives going from the maid, what should we look like? How should we carry ourselves? Even our career aspirations, there are certain expectations. Then we move into the mother. And of course, whether or not you are actually a mother of your own children, you are still in that phase of life where you're nurturing others. Others stand on our shoulders, they need us, we support them, and we get a lot of fulfillment from that. But I think what we sometimes don't realize we're doing in that is putting everyone ahead of ourselves. And then comes midlife. And all those amazing, beautiful, loved people who we have supported are off on their merry way. We might become empty nesters, we watch our children grow up and they move on. Sometimes it's a time of relationship breakdown because you're just not the same person you were when you met that person maybe 20, 30 years ago. And, often you've maybe had a career that fitted with family because, again, family probably came first. Now you're at this crossroads. Oh, and let's throw in menopause. Let's throw in emotional dysregulation.
Oh, yes.
You don't
Let's
even
the
know.
hot topic of the moment.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. You don't even know
We've
what
gone from not talking about it, right, to
but
everyone
now
talking
everyone's
about it.
talking about it,
A
right?
billion-dollar multi, industry at the
Absolutely.
moment, but thank goodness we're all
But,
talking about it. So
menopause, we were kind of painted as these, intolerant, emotionally dysregulated women. And I actually want that to be reframed. I think it's actually, hang on, this is all happening at the same time. It's this amazing universal intersection where we're moving from the mother into the crone, which of course we're meant to all go, the crone is horrible. She's painted as this ugly, old, haggard, witchy woman. And it's like, actually, the crone is wisdom. The crone is standing in her strength. The crone is no longer holding back who she is and what she thinks about what she sees going on in the world, because this is the first time in your life, midlife, when your children have moved on. You're maybe looking at your partner and going, well, you know, he's had a continuity of whatever his aspirations are. You're having to be introspective because you're having, you know, menopause symptoms that really no one else understands because it's happening to you. And we become introspective. And all of a sudden it's like, hang on, you know, I haven't really embraced who I am. Everything's been on hold. Now, midlife is this opportunity to really delve into what is my worth? Who am I? How do I want to show up in the world? And I think that's an incredibly empowering time.
Oh, you're speaking my language. You know, I love that you touched on, you know, the crone as that wise woman, you know, the crown of wisdom, you know, that stage of your life where, you know, yeah, you know, I like to think of menopause too as more of a rite of passage, you know. But yeah, the patriarchy painted our crone as the wicked witch, you know. So I
Yeah,
love that you touched on that. That's so great.
yeah.
And yeah, I think, you know, um, yeah, everything you said just made so much sense to me. Now, for women stuck in burnout or
Mm.
career disenchantment, what are
Mhm.
some of the deeper, often overlooked costs of saying, you know, where they are?
Mm. So my private practice is called Worth, and that's because this is really the cost of not taking the time to reflect on where you are, being sure that's where you want to be, and choosing whether or not you're going to make any changes at this crossroads, because your self-worth is what being in a career that's no longer serving you, feeling burnout. And again, I'm going to throw menopause in there. You know, sometimes women go, am I menopausal? Am I burnt out? Have I now got ADHD, which often comes out in sports? We mask it our entire lives. So
Yes.
many women that I speak to, they're like, I don't even know what this is. I don't know if it's burnout. I don't know if I just need to write out menopause and this is me. It's not the workplace. It's not the context. It's me. So I think women do tend to take it on themselves. You know, I'm the failure. I should have known better. Um, I'm in a toxic role, but I guess I've let it go so long now. I don't feel like I can say anything because now I'm actually seen as capable. And this is now the pattern that I've set up in my workplace and also in home. You know, we're balancing the career with home.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes we dig ourselves a bit of a hole. And then if it's not other people telling us we're not doing enough, we're not enough, we're not doing enough, we're not being enough, if we're not getting that externally, we're doing it to ourselves. So I think erosion of self-worth and disempowerment is the greatest cost of women just sticking it out and not realizing that, you know, 45, 50, 55, 60, you can still have another innings. You can still pivot and completely change careers. You can step up to a leadership role. You can start your own business. You can change the way that looks. It's not too late. You know, we work for so long now. We no longer retire at 50 and, you know, start gardening and cooking. We work until we're, you know, 70, 75
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
So I think if we instead creep off into the shadows, which too many women do, you know, they're maybe in the workforce, and often I'm working with women in leadership roles who all of a sudden they're getting these menopause symptoms, they're feeling a bit of anxiety, they're in boardrooms and then all of a sudden they have a feminine hot flash and they just feel disempowered and no one understands. So instead of embracing it, advocating for themselves and for other women in the workplace, they just shrink away. So not only are you doing yourself a disservice, you're doing every other woman a disservice as well. Um, so, you know, if you don't tackle the issue, there's lots of research statistics saying that women who are unhappy in midlife in their career have a 25% higher risk of developing mental health disorders like anxiety and depression. Career isn't really, I know that we used to talk about, you know, when men retire, their work is their sense of identity, and all of a sudden they're lost. Well, hello, it's, there's equity there because women are also tying their identities to career. So we don't want to just shrink away from that at the time when we really get the opportunity to embrace who we are.
Oh, I love that so much.
Mhm.
Yeah, for me, my burnout was a breakdown, but actually a breakthrough. And I often talk about it because I really, I come from a corporate space, very high level sales, very high level leadership, working crazy 100-hour weeks, and yeah, the burnout for me really was that pause. We
Mm,
talk about menopause, that pause,
yeah.
I'm at that stage of my life where, I'm the queen, crone, teacher, grandmother. And what I love about it is, I've really released that people pleasing, overcompensator, I have to be everything to everyone kind of crazy crap, so I love that you're supporting women in leadership to really find, to really navigate their way through in a way that feels really authentic and nourishing for them. That's so cool. Love that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yay. So, what's the first thing you help women reclaim when they come to you feeling kind of lost or undervalued? What would be that first step?
So I like to look at the truth of who they really are. And to be honest, and ridiculously, often women have never been asked that question.
Yeah.
It's like, who are you in relation to everybody else? You're a
Yeah.
wife, you're a colleague, you're a mum. And often the first question I will ask a client is, so who are you? And they struggle to answer that because they don't know. And they immediately respond with who they are in relation to other people. And it's helping them express, or really, they need to be introspective first and take that pause and not think it's selfish to actually think about who they are and where they are in their journey and what they want for themselves.
Yeah.
So struggle to articulate that.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing, trying to give them back their voice, giving them the space to be introspective in a safe place. Nothing they say is judged. So once they can put voice to that, it's incredibly empowering. And then we work on strategy. So the first thing would be, let's actually unpack who you are and who you want to be and how you want to show up in the world. So there's a lot of conversations, really building rapport, getting to know you, hearing your story. And from there, we look at things like values, fit. We look at what transferable skills you have. We look at really the purpose that you want to have. Legacy is a really trendy term at the moment.
Yeah.
And, I think we sometimes don't like to think of legacy because we're like, well, that's saying that we're coming to the end of life. And I'm not suggesting that. I'm suggesting legacy can be something that you build over 20 odd years of the last phase of your working life.
Yes. Yeah.
And, that legacy could be advocacy in the workplace. It could be providing a service to other people. There are a lot of women in midlife who go into things like life coaching and providing private practice services because of the wealth of knowledge, but they want the freedom to do it their way, do it authentically.
Oh, I love that so much. The peeling back, the unpacking of the roles and obligations and all those labels that we, tend to identify with, and that beautiful kind of, rebirthing of the new cycle and phase. And you're quite right, we live for so long, we might as well enjoy that, the 20 years of building that love legacy, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not, I'm not a yoga teacher or a somatic therapist or anything like that, but I am seeing more and more that women in midlife need the nervous system reset as well. So
Yeah.
often I'll work with other people, other professionals, and go, okay, this woman is in such a state, we can't even work on strategy and cognitive behaviors
Yes.
until we actually get that nervous system calmed down and she feels
Yeah. Regulate it. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Love that. Beautiful. I love that you do, like, you've got the, you're just so warm, but you've also got these amazing pragmatic strategies that you use. So what practical strategies do you offer women navigating that in between? I
Mm,
know you touched on it, when the
yeah,
old identity has fallen away,
yeah.
but the new one hasn't fully formed yet, if that
Yeah,
makes
you know,
sense.
that
Yeah.
that messy middle. So one of the first things I do is try and make sure that my clients are comfortable in the messy middle, right? So often that might require a conversation with their partner. You know, where is their partner sitting on this? What supports do they have? Often it's their adult children who are really keen to see, you know, a mum kind of step into her own, finally step into the sun. But it'll be things like I have a huge network of people that sometimes it's what I call a curiosity conversation. I guess it's a form of mentorship that I might connect one of my clients with someone who has already gone through, I guess, the transition, maybe pivoted careers or is working in a space that my client wants to maybe move into, but just needs a little bit more confidence that that is the right fit. Um, it can also be little try-ons. You know, there are lots of opportunities if someone has the time to do volunteering. Like, you know, we all did work experience when we were 15. Our one and only opportunity to do volunteering for some people, and then we were straight into career. There is the opportunity for us to do that again in midlife. You know, we can actually test things out. I also sometimes help women put together things like little portfolios of work. So we'll put together business
Oh,
plans
right. Yeah.
only for the exercise.
Yeah.
Go, oh, look, you have actually got all these things that you could leverage. And sometimes just doing kind of that mock activity not only fills them with a little bit of courage and confidence, but it can also bring out things like creativity that they didn't appreciate they had, or problem solving, or that they're actually quite strategically minded, but they've never had an outlet. So, you know, doing things like mock portfolios. Sometimes it's micro credentials. You know, there are lots
Oh,
of
okay.
free
Yeah.
courses you can do through LinkedIn. There are so many little free courses. Then again, it's an opportunity to dabble, maybe build some confidence, some capacity as well before launching into a whole like reskill. So often my clients will be like, I'm 55, I'm not going back to uni for the next 4 years. And I'm like, it's so not necessary. You know,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
underestimate the wealth of experience we have and how that's transferable.
Exactly. I think it's just such a beautiful stage of life where you can explore
Mm,
and play and be creative and, you know, yeah, like in the early days, it was more about, paying the mortgage and,
yeah.
doing what we needed to do to create a life, I guess,
Yeah.
But then it is an opportunity to reset and, you know, have some fun kind of, exploring, what options are out there. Yeah.
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 And, you know, I guess if we're talking about Gen X,
Yes.
women particularly were kind of given um, a pamphlet with like, here's 10 careers that you could consider because you're female and this would be a good fit. And that means you can still have a family and some freedom. But now there's a plethora of careers and, you know, entrepreneurship. There are so many avenues for the average person to start up something, you know, in their spare room. It's crazy. Yeah.
It's super crazy, but super
Yeah.
exciting that,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's not too late to reinvent. It's not too late to do some of those things that have been kind of brewing in the background that you haven't been able to kind of, bring forward.
Mm.
And yeah. And I think, when you have that kind of support and guidance to kind of like, um, yeah, really kind of get super clear on what that might be, and yeah, it's so good. So
Yeah. And I
I
think there's a
yeah.
different conversation with a professional. It's a different conversation when you engage with a professional like me to have those conversations because I don't have an expectation of you. I don't know who you are when you come to me. So you have a clean slate, as opposed to when you have these conversations with your loved ones, they have this perception of who you are and what you're capable of. And you've created a mold in their minds. And so sometimes they're not the best people to bounce some ideas off if you're looking at reinvention, because it can be quite confronting for them. And, you know, they want the familiar you, but maybe you've outgrown that person. You know, you're not the person you were 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
Yeah. I had someone say to me once, "Oh my goodness, you've changed." And I thought, well, I hope so. Isn't that the whole point? We're
Exactly.
supposed to grow and
Yeah,
evolve and expand. And,
absolutely.
we don't want to stay stuck or,
Yeah.
yeah, it was, what I was doing back then was perfect for back then.
Yeah.
But what I'm doing now is right for me now. So,
Yeah.
and we're
Yeah.
so multidimensional too, and we've
Absolutely.
got so many strengths and gifts and passions and wishes for life, um, and I love to that, supporting women to be independent financially, gives them a lot of freedom in that stage of their life as well. Do you find that?
Absolutely. Like, I think a lot of women don't realize that if in their 50s, I see a lot of women in their 50s who start to step back from work. And again, we're talking about a generation who doesn't have a lot of super behind them, a lot of superannuation behind them.
Yeah.
So if you're a woman and you're stepping back from earning a decent income, you don't have much superannuation. Well, so where have you left yourself? You know, if you live for another 40 odd years, where have you left yourself if you step out of the workforce? And, you know, why have you stepped out of the workforce? Because you know, work provides so much more than just financial security and stability. It provides social connection. It gives you an outlet for creativity. It helps your brain keep active, your
Yes.
body
Yeah.
keep active. Like, there are just so many benefits to stay in the workforce, but certainly financial security and stability and longevity of that is incredibly important for independence. You know, I speak to women who maybe they're a little bit older, maybe they're in their 60s, and now they're not happy in their relationship, but they feel financially tied to that person and not able to stretch their wings a bit because they don't have that financial independence.
Wow. Yeah. So good.
So it really keeps them stuck. So many reasons
So
to
many reasons. It's so
recommend.
important,
Mm,
because that cohort of women over 50, in regards to superannuation, homelessness,
yeah.
yeah, and a lot of these women are educated women. They've worked
Mm,
hard. They've, or not. Perhaps life's been challenging.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, there's
so
also a
good.
lot of
Yeah,
women in Gen X, surprising number of women actually that I come across who worked mediocre jobs for 20 or 30 years. You know, they maybe got a degree when they finished school, so they had
yeah.
this degree. Then they did the conventional thing, they got married, they had children. So then their career took a back seat for a job. So they worked a job that suited them. So they could still do, you know, picking up kids, etc. And their husband's career often has jettisoned because of the continuity. Then all of a sudden they're in middle life and they're like, okay, well, I have this degree that I never did anything with. It's probably lost its currency. Gee, all the aspirations I had though, you know, they say they're having conversations with their 18-year-olds about what are you going to do for a career? What's your next step? And I really see a lot of women reflect themselves, almost revisit that journey and ache for what never saw light. You know, they maybe got started on that pathway and then think it's too late to revisit it.
What a wonderful opportunity to do some of those things that, some of those passions that perhaps had to take a back seat,
Yeah.
to bring up children or to, support your partner or whatever,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
um,
And I think this
yeah,
is where women can have it all. You know, the feminist movement kind of suggested that women could have it all, and there's a few debates around a few positions that people have taken where it's like, oh, well, that was really bad for women because that's why we're burnt out, because we're trying to be all things to all people. It's like, no, let's reframe that. We can have everything we want, just maybe not all at the same time. So
exactly.
if you wanted a career as, you know, a 20-year-old who went to uni, but then you also wanted to have a family, excuse me. So maybe that did need to take a back seat at that time in your life, and now you've done that. Now you've had the family. So what was the other things that you wanted to do? Now this is the time and the space and the opportunity to revisit them. And we did have
It's
it all.
not too late. Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's interesting. I'm going to jump back a little bit for a
Mhm.
moment.
Mhm.
With burnout, I've noticed with a lot of my clients when they're, in midlife, when they're feeling really burnt out
Mhm.
and they're really excited about new opportunities, but they're not quite sure what that is yet. But
Mhm.
there's also a fear of not wanting to work too hard. So I think
Mm.
there's a craving for fulfillment
Mm.
over, climbing the ladder, or
Yeah.
maybe they still want to do that, but
Mm.
like it's
Yeah.
that
So we
fulfilling
re
meaning, purpose. Yeah.
yeah, I've actually repositioned my business a little bit because that's what I picked up as well. That when I had tagged myself as a career strategist, a lot of women were saying, well, I'm tired. I don't want to build my career. I'm not looking to elevate my
I don't
career.
want to start again.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at slowing down. This is not the time to be career building. And so I also focus on the transition. Well, okay, so if you don't want to work as much and you're looking at maybe it is work actually being more manageable and you slowing down and having some better balance in your life, well, that's a transition as well. Because sadly, we tend to go all or nothing. It's like we work, 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 work. We work ourselves to burnout, and then we crash, and we're like, oh, I just want to go and work as a receptionist somewhere because I just can't handle all
Go and
this
work at Bunnings or
responsibility.
something.
I go and work at Bunnings
Cafe. Yeah.
because I don't like the responsibility. I've been there,
Yeah.
done. But
Yeah.
there is a middle ground,
Yes.
and we can negotiate with employers to wind back on work. We can look at flexible working arrangements where maybe we're working from home a couple of days a week, not in the office 5 days a week.
Yeah.
So I even help my clients navigate that kind of, well, how am I going to transition out of the workforce or step down from my leadership role without actually having to quit my job entirely? So I've moved some women in corporate from leadership roles into more of a mentor role. So they were able to step
Oh,
back
wow. I
those
love that.
leadership positions without losing status or losing face. Because a lot
Yes.
of women in leadership will go, well, I can't now um, demote myself because I will
Yeah.
lose status, and we don't want to do that when you spent a lifetime building career status. So it could be moving sideways. It could be creating roles as well. I've got one woman who actually created a role as a mentor advocate. A menopause mentor and advocate in the workplace. So she's helping write policies. She's arranging flexible working arrangements for colleagues and other people working at the organization. So we created a role for her that didn't even exist because it was values based. What was important to her. Menopause was having a huge impact on her, and she thought her only option was to completely step away. So
Wow.
as you
Yeah.
unpack it, it's like, no, what you think is your weakness might actually be your strength.
Yeah. That kind of all or nothing type, you
Mm.
know, concept of it's all or nothing.
Mm.
I totally agree, like you can, for me, I used to have that revolving door of clients like 24/7. And now what I do is, I have 2 full days a week where I'm in session. That
Mm.
works well for me. I do nanny shoo day every second Monday. So,
Yeah.
um, I do my creative work, which I love and adore. I get to talk to really super cool women like you on a Friday morning. I've designed my life in a way that feels nourishing, fulfilling without the hard slog.
Yeah.
And I love that you explained too that you don't have to demote your life yourself. I think sometimes as women we underestimate the knowledge, the
Mm.
corporate knowledge, the wisdom, the life experience that we've gathered. And I loved that you explained, that mentorship, because I truly believe, as I'm actually Gen X, not a baby boomer.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
proud to say, because
Yeah.
um, you know, um, yeah, I think I think it's important to support other women, or not just women, support other people
Mm,
to rise as well,
mm,
and to share the knowledge, and but also to really, as a collective, stand in our power and
mm,
go, we have a lot to offer past midlife. So
mm.
so great. This is such a juicy topic. I love it.
And it's surprisingly, things like the mentor advocacy in organization, in corporate, is heavily supported by men because,
Yes.
funnily enough, men in leadership do recognize the IP of the women in leadership, and they don't want to lose us either.
No.
They also don't want to be the ones to go, hey, it looks like you might be struggling a little bit with emotional regulation. Because could you imagine, like, they can't bring that up. So it's for us to do that. But too many women don't want to be stigmatized and put their
Yes.
hand up and go, sorry, guys, I'm just having a hot flush. Just give me a minute. Talk amongst yourselves for a minute while I just have a cool drink, and then we'll be
Yeah.
back on the agenda. They would prefer to just slink away. Um, and, the men know what's going on, and they're there to work with us, but we just actually need to step into that.
Absolutely. I think, part of the exhaustion and the drainage is that we've had to navigate that patriarchal world.
Mm,
And as women, and that's not, yeah,
mm.
that's not, male bashing, but that's just the reality of how things work. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So it's
think
kind of like, yeah,
the older patriarchy have
yes,
started to move out of that corporate world, particularly.
yes,
And you've got now a layer of middle to upper management, if you like, who are Gen X themselves. So they're navigating menopause with their mums
yes,
and their wives. They know, they've seen it, they know what's coming. And I think they're just a lot more open to, it was gender equity, isn't it? I mean,
yeah,
ignoring menopause and managing women out of the workplace, or women allowing themselves to manage themselves out of the workforce, that's gendered ageism. It's the last bastion of discrimination that we're really starting to scratch.
yeah, exactly,
There's maternity leave,
exactly.
paternity leave, there's reproductive leave to support
True.
women with endometriosis. And I think, in Australia, we're starting to see a couple of larger insurance companies, for example, bringing out menopause flexible arrangements. So it's not leave, it's things like working from home, having better work-life balance, coming in a bit later. So that's certainly in the discussion arena at the moment, which is great to see.
I think we're heading in the right direction. You're quite right. You only have to have a look at Australian politics today to
Yeah.
realise that, yeah, that there's been a realisation. I know they've got a long way to go, but
Mm.
there's been this kind of epiphany of, oh my
Mm.
goodness, um,
Actually got a
yeah,
patent
yeah,
saying the word menopause. Like, that's that's groundbreaking in itself.
yeah. So you've helped so many women reinvent their careers. Is there one story that kind of stuck with you, stayed with you, a client whose journey really embodies your message of worth?
Yeah, so one of the first women that I worked with, she was at a point in her life where her youngest child was in year 11, so coming to the end of their schooling. She had two older children who had moved on, and she had been with her husband for, well, 20 odd years, and he had had continuity of career. And she was starting to go, well, what am I going to do when my youngest finishes? I'm looking down the barrel of that. And she was working in a shoe store. So she was working in retail. And 100% it was just to work around the family, because her husband had, quite an important job. And so he couldn't possibly take time off if the kids were sick or needed to be picked up from school or to attend those additional things. So she made sure that she was available to do it. She was the backbone of the family. But as her elder two kind of went off, she felt a complete disregard for, well, I'm kind of at home now. I'm working this mediocre job that I'm not finding any fulfillment in. It's Groundhog Day. And she was just feeling quite demoralized. and really not sure what she was going to do when this last child left home. She was trying to make herself quite indispensable to that older adolescent child. He was not appreciating that. She was like,
Yes,
you
yes,
figure out.
I hear that a lot. Yeah, not
Yes,
just
she was
from
really
the women, but also not just from the mothers, but also from the from the adult
so yes,
children
yes.
that
So
I
he was
read
like,
for.
"Come on, mum." He literally said to her, "You need to get a life." And when we caught up, she was like, I actually, that really hit home because I felt like I did have a life and I put my life on hold for my family. And then when I'm starting to feel a bit anxious about what does my life look like, I just get this throwaway line from the ones who I've put it on hold for, being told, get a life. And she felt really quite almost distressed by the dismissive nature of the comment.
Yeah, interesting.
And she was perimenopausal now, which there was some tension in her relationship, so that was becoming exacerbated by her perimenopausal symptoms. She just wasn't quite as tolerant as she was anymore. So when she came to me, she was more so she wasn't my classical burnout client, but she was certainly someone at a crossroads in her life who just didn't know
Yeah,
what to do with herself. So when we talked, it turned out that she had actually worked in management and retail previous to just taking some casual work. And she had a really keen interest in supporting young people. She liked to work with, people in their early 20s, late teens. So what we looked at for her is she did a certificate for in workplace training and assessing, which allowed her to then train trainees in the workplace and for TAFE in retail. And very quickly, once she got into that, so that only took her 8 months to do. I was actually able to be her mentor for that and sign off a lot of her paperwork. As soon as she got that qualification, started applying for jobs, this woman is a new human being. She was almost a little bit invisible. She had made herself
yeah, yeah.
visible. She didn't want to take up space. Now, this woman is incredible. She has
Oh, I
already,
love that.
in 2 years, she has had 3 job changes. Just opportunities have come up because she's now blossomed. She's this confident, outgoing, shiny person. She dresses differently, she shows up differently, and it's been recognized. So she went from um, doing some TAFE training to then she was looking after apprenticeships for an apprenticeship agency. And now she's actually moved into the corporate space, providing training on things like customer service and team building.
Wow.
What she did shed in that time was her relationship. Um, and, that was an unfortunate cost, but I think an inevitable cost.
For
And
her to grow and,
yeah,
yeah, and find her own genuine inner happiness, perhaps. Yeah.
absolutely. Because, I mentioned before that we look at the support structures that are in place for women in midlife when I start
Yes.
working with them. And her partner was not supportive. He
Yeah.
didn't want her to change, but she was so ready to change. It was inevitable anyway. But, whether that's done in a positive way or a negative way, I'd like to think that helping support her on that journey, really, we saw her blossom. And she is this incredible powerhouse of a woman now,
Oh,
uh,
I love it.
visible. I don't know what I've got to offer the world.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Brilliant.
good. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. What a great story. I love that so much. And, as I said, what was right for her in one stage of her life is probably very different to, you know, I don't
Yeah.
know. I think, it's just so important to be that leading lady in your own play and to, be visible and to be seen and heard and to, yeah, follow your own beautiful sovereign pathway, which is really
Mhm.
amazing. So, yay, if
Well, one of her daughters in her early 20s actually said to her, Mum, I'm so proud of you. I mean, how
oh,
great to
wow.
hear that you are the role model that we all want to be for our kids. And, to have your own child tell you that they're proud of you. I mean, how beautiful is that?
So beautiful. That is so beautiful to have that, that beautiful ripple effect that,
Mm.
we talk about a love legacy. That's that's a love legacy right there.
Yeah.
Because she's not just showing her daughter, she's showing her, you know, I don't know, possibly grandchildren, who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah. So as in like, it's never too late, you
Yeah.
know, is midlife a crisis or your calling?
True. Yeah.
True, or is it an opportunity to reinvent? I love that so much. Yay. Now, my love, I'm hoping I can pull a card for you from one of my decks. It's the Oracle of Delphi deck, which is perfect for our topic today. It's a very empowering deck, and for our listeners as well. And it's absolutely perfect. It's the Sovereign card, and I'm just going to hold it up here. Can you see that?
You see that? Yeah.
Can you see
It's
it?
like
Yeah.
a lion. Yeah.
Yeah. And we've got the beautiful lion, the peacock. She's sitting on her golden throne, and she's kind of like, reclining back like this. So it's like, she's comfortable in her own skin,
Yeah.
and that beautiful sovereign message of, be that self-determining, self-governing, gorgeous crone, wear that crown of wisdom, enjoy that, that longevity, that long-lasting last stage of life, make the most of it, but the words are reclaim, which is perfect, preserve, govern, and remember, remember your worth. So I
Yeah.
thought that was the perfect card to finish off our podcast
I
today, my
love
love.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's what I'm all about, reclaiming and remembering your worth. It's not creating your worth, it's inherent. We spend our lives trying to prove it, earn it. It's already there. We just have to remember it. I love that.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
love that. Thank you so much for coming on Ask the Oracle podcast today. You're amazing.
As are you.
Thank you, my love. Bye for now.
Thank you so much. Bye, Susie.